Most people's worldview is wrong, and it's not because they're stupid, it's just because their entire life they've only ever seen one tiny version of reality. The biggest leaps in my life didn't come from motivation, books, or planning. They came from being exposed to worlds so different from my own that they shattered everything I understood about reality. Hardship, opportunity, identity, money, myself. And the truth is this: you don't grow because you want to. You grow because the reality in front of you doesn't allow your old beliefs to survive. Travel didn't change me. Exposure did. Contrast did. Seeing the extremes of the world, the floor and the ceiling, forced my worldview to update. Most people never grow because they never leave that bubble that they were born into. They live their entire lives inside one small context, one economic bracket, one set of assumptions, and they mistake that for the whole world. I didn't see the whole world, but I saw enough of it to realize just how wrong my assumptions were. When I was 20 years old, I saw something that completely destroyed my entire perception and idea of what hardship truly was. I went underground with a group of friends in the mines of Potosi in Bolivia, South America. Men down there, the same age as us, were working for $7 per day. No safety gear, breathing in toxic dust, doing 12-hour shifts in the dark and cold. And the worst part is, many of them would be dead by 40 due to the toxic and unsafe working conditions. And that wasn't a sad story. This was their economic reality. It was work or die. And they could work down in a retail store or shop in the village selling goods, but they would only make a fraction of the money, so it didn't make sense. Later on that same trip, I saw kids sleeping on the concrete with bare feet in sub-zero temperatures, clothes soaked, no insulation, no opportunity, no safety net, and literally no future to step into. And I remember thinking to myself, if this is truly the flaw, then my life back home is not hard, and it could never be hard. It's padded, it's insulated, and this had nothing to do with guilt. This was calibration, and it snapped something into place for me that I've held ever since. My problems were not actually problems. The shit that I would spend all day worried about were not even real problems. They were preferences. And that one insight, I carried it with me years later when I was working under fluorescent lights, soaked from a fucking motorcycle ride through the sideways rain in the middle of winter, earning barely enough money to survive. Was it miserable? Of course it was. But after what I'd seen, it was survivable. There was nothing existential about it. I had a reference point, and most people don't. And a different kind of shock came from the opposite extreme. Places like Switzerland or Dubai, you walk around and it literally feels like wealth was invented there. Just one yacht worth more than entire suburbs back in New Zealand. Watches worth more than houses. People spending more money casually in a day than your entire bloodline could accumulate. I grew up thinking that someone with a nice beach house was rich. Seeing global wealth and the scale of it shattered that idea completely. Not in a jealous way, in a scale way. Like, I thought to myself, my entire idea of success was provincial, it was regional. It was a small town version of it. I was playing this small game because I didn't even know the size and scale of the real one. It's like living your whole life in a pond and then jumping into the ocean. And the thing is, once you've seen the ceiling, you can't go back to pretending it doesn't exist. Your ambitions stretch whether you want them to or not. And I think most people don't realize the extent to which their thinking is inherited by the environment that they grew up in. And that includes your beliefs about things like money, risk, success, hardship, possibility, safety, what's normal, and also what's realistic. Those beliefs aren't actually yours. Those beliefs are the shape of the bubble that you were raised in and what those people believe. And because I left that bubble early and repeatedly, my worldview started fracturing and reshaping long before my life actually became difficult. And that made all the difference. And another thing that I've learned, the things that have the biggest impact on your life never come from deliberate planning. They come from accidents, random moments. When I was 19 years old, I was solo traveling in Ibiza in Spain, the party island. I had basically never heard Spanish spoken before in my entire life. We don't hear it in New Zealand. We're so isolated that it's just not a thing. People don't learn languages. I saw a girl at a bus stop and I spoke the 2 Spanish words I knew to her. And then we ended up sitting next to each other, passing Google Translate back and forth for 40 minutes. I never saw her again, but that single moment rerouted everything. I went back to New Zealand and I studied Spanish every single day for 2 years. I ended up on an exchange in Medellin, Colombia, where I am right now recording this video. I became completely fluent. I built relationships in Spanish, and I ended up living in Latin America long term. And my business today, including my entire growth strategy, is built around this region. One completely random moment at a bus stop turned into the entire architecture of my adult life. And that's the whole point. You can't plan things like this. You can only put yourself in places where it might happen. And when you're inside your comfort zone, it's a closed loop. You see the same shit every day. You experience the same emotions. You hear the same opinions from the people around you. Your worldview becomes a feedback chamber. Contrast breaks it. Seeing extremes firsthand, real ones, not just Instagram versions, oxygenates your thinking. It rewires gratitude, ambition, resilience. It rewires your entire understanding of what matters. The world itself doesn't make you grow. Traveling isn't a way to go and find yourself, but the parts of the world that contradict the assumptions that you built in the bubble you grew up in, that does. Effectively, it boils down to this. Your worldview is your operating system. If the inputs are narrow, the life that comes out will also be narrow. If the inputs are extreme, the floor and the ceiling, the worldview that emerges from that is unrecognizable. And really what that means, I think, is that most people don't lack potential, they lack exposure. If you only ever lived in one reality, you're running outdated software. And if you never see the world, you never see yourself clearly. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I drop one like this every 48 hours and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.